Okay, we are here for the 𝗀𝗃 podcast live from DPW Amsterdam. This is a special episode of the 𝗀𝗃 on the road, and I am here today with Matthias Gutzmann, who is the founder, creator, visionary behind DPW Digital Procurement World. And for those who don't know, that is the #1 procurement conference in the world, in our space certainly, and by far the most fun. So I'm excited to welcome Matthias to his own stage, ironically, today. And I'm excited to do something that is a bit of a reverse interview. Usually you're creating content for all of us. I'm curious to learn about the man behind the organization. So yeah, thanks for joining me this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. It's amazing. Yeah, and congrats to the launch of your podcast as well. And yeah, it's perfect. It's a perfect setting here.
Yeah.
And we're on day 2 at DPW Amsterdam, and big day for you as well, with the awards finals announcements, your keynotes. So yeah, looking forward to the conversation now for the next 20 minutes.
I know, it's a big day, absolutely. I think I'm going to need more than 1 cup of coffee. So I'd love to learn a bit about you. So how did you find your way into the world of conference creation and then into the world of procurement?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've been in the event space since I've been a student, and for some reason I always like organizing stuff. I'm a very neat and tidy person, so I think I naturally fell into the event space. And when I was a student, I studied sports management. I also launched a small events business in Leipzig, where we helped the zoo of Leipzig run cultural events. I launched the National Beach Soccer League in Germany.
Wow.
So I've been doing events actually for a while, and then at one point I joined a company called Procurement Leaders, which I'm sure you know, and
yep.
I was running events for them and launching events, and ultimately moving into New York 2010 to launch a US business, and launched the Americas Congress for them, other events, and so I had always a passion for events, and then I was running events, and then I thought at one point, man, the events in procurement are boring, right?
Yeah,
they're too corporate, they're too stiff, it's always the same old people. There's no diversity of thought, perspective, ideas, and there was no event focusing on tech and digital transformation.
Right.
And so, I thought, hey, I know how to do that. Why don't I launch my own event, DPW Amsterdam? And so that's how the idea was born.
That's amazing. I'd love, now, as an attendee, I look around and I see this enormous conference. You're in one of the most iconic spaces in Amsterdam, and you're bursting at the seams, right? Next year, we're going to have to move to an even larger venue just simply because the amount of organic demand. So now looking at it, you'd think that DPW's been around forever. But I'd love to hear about the first DPW conference, like that moment when it was super unproven, and you're starting to call people and say, hey, I've got this idea, I'd like you to come. And they're like, what was it like last year? And you're like, there was no last year. So I'm kind of curious what that experience was like and how that conference ended up unfolding.
Yeah, maybe I can quickly share why how everything really started. And the idea for DPW was born and bred in Brooklyn, in New York. And I lived in New York for 10 years already at this time, had a great job. And then I wanted to create this new event, and then I thought, well, launching an event in Europe is probably easier than North America because everything is closer together, easier to get to.
Sure.
And so moved back into my parents' house in 2019-18 actually. Surrendered my green card, split up with my girlfriend, and launched DPW Amsterdam out of my parents' house.
Yeah.
And I thought Amsterdam is a great city because it's well connected. It's a tech hub. It's a fun city. People might just extend for the weekend after the conference, which will make my life easier to get people to the event in the first place. And so I mean, that's how I launched the event. And having done that before, running delegate sales, sponsorship sales, event production, marketing sales, sponsorship sales, having built that network already over the 10 years before that, knowing all the sponsors, the providers in the space, the practitioners, I knew I can pull this off. And launched my first event, and our first edition was 2019. We had 432 attendees, and that was already pretty spectacular for a first-time procurement event. So I think, I launched a RIGHT event focusing on tech, digital, a bit more startup-centric than the traditional events at the right time, 2019. And there were already startup solutions out there, don't get me wrong. But, since then, there has been this explosion of innovation, right?
Of course.
You're here now with LightSource. And we have 129 sponsors today. But the first event was amazing. I mean, I remember my sister was at the registration desk because I didn't have any resources. So it was a truly family business. My dad was a CFO at home. He would, send out the invoices and everything. And then the first event, my parents were there.
Wow.
Yeah, it was overwhelming, right?
Wow.
And then, I always wanted to put up that event because I thought it's needed. And I remember when the event was over, I was super happy. And I went to my parents and said, so now what? I really never had a vision beyond that first event, right? And then people said, do another version, make it bigger and better. So that was the idea. And then the pandemic happened.
That's what I was going to ask.
And shit happened, and
it's almost the worst time in some ways to start an in-person conference because you just get this momentum, you have this great event, and then it's like, we had for sure one, but more realistically two, maybe 2.5 years where people weren't getting together. So how do you bridge that gap? I mean, how do you keep something that's so early alive, Yeah,
that was brutal and kind of exposed also the vulnerable business model, right? Having one event only as your only product. 2 days a year pandemic, it kind of got wiped out, my whole business. And it was tough. But as Churchill said, never waste a good crisis.
That's true.
2020 we cancelled. We didn't have an event, and I launched a tech scouting program during the pandemic, where we help companies find the best new solutions, because our unique window are the startup solutions, and we had this unique window and first entry and window into that space. So we reached out to big companies, Roche, Shell, and I said, hey, I can help you with finding new solutions. So created Scout Lab, which then became our Labs program, which by the way doesn't exist anymore. But so I kept above water. I launched Demo, our startup competition during that time as well, fully virtual, to at least give the startups some platform and a stage during those difficult times, and that has now been involved into the DPW Awards. So, look, I mean, no event, but I became creative. I kept above water, and the good thing is also you have to remember I didn't have any team members, so it was just me. And I was living in my parents' house. No cost.
That's
basically
true.
no cost. So that helped as well.
They weren't charging you rent?
But no. Even better, I actually didn't have to pay for food and nothing.
Wow.
So
do they have any more vacancies?
But look, I mean, that helped, and got somehow through the pandemic. And then 2021 we did a fully virtual event, which was also great, and got sponsors on board. Made a $500,000 roughly revenue in that year, and then things just improved and got better. And so what I realized is that I as a startup founder, I mean, I was so passionate about what I'm doing, and I don't think you can survive these phases if you don't really passionate about it. And so I really learned how resilient actually I am. Right?
That's amazing. And I mean, look, what you're saying is totally landing with me. I completely understand it. I guess I'm kind of curious, as the conference grows, I would say that there's this old saying in the business world that your product is a reflection of your org structure. That if you are at Google and you're building a certain org, then your product will reflect the org. And this conference is certainly like a reflection of you, Matthias. And so my question is, as you start to grow and you're bringing more folks into the mix, and the scale of conferences, you move from a super charismatic space to a bigger conference space, how do you make sure you don't converge into one of the same kind of organizations that you originally were inspired to be different from?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And look, we only have 2 events right now, right? DPW Amsterdam, DPW New York, and I think that's first of all great. And we have a very simple business model, and we really focus on those 2 events. I think the more events you add to your portfolio, like so many other providers out there, I think the harder it will become, or it will be to maintain that constant reinvention. And I see a lot of events getting a bit commoditized and losing that innovation, and they're a little bit all the same. So I think that's super important to keep that constant reinvention alive, and also I call it the founder DNA. It's my magic sauce that I put into the event, right? The attention to detail, the passion, and maybe things other people wouldn't see. And I think as you scale the team, it's so important that you keep envisioning and you keep doubling down on what makes our event so unique. And I don't think our event is. Look, anyone can run a build a tech event, I believe. Anyone can bring great speakers to the conference. So really what makes us unique, what's our competitive advantage in the future is actually that mindset, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit my mindset or the founder DNA, and get this across the team. And and I think that's really hard to maintain as you scale a company, right? So I'm worried about that as well. Sometimes that keeps me up at night, but we're on a good track. I mean, you see the event, it looks super unique. And as we now go also scale the event, we become bigger and bigger. We have 1,600 people today here, 129 spots.
1,600?
1,600.
Oh my goodness.
And next year we're going to close to 3,000. And so we are really scaling. And by the way, I don't know if you knew, we're also changing the venue. We are moving now from the Beurs van Berlage into the RAI here in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So I think as you scale that event, it's super important that you maintain also the privacy, the micro experiences, right, for these attendees. I mean, the private dinners for the CPOs, the CPO track that we have, but also really, making these meaningful connections. And I think that's our USP in the future as a conference, to drive these connections, right, meaningfully, intentionally. Through the app. I launched a CPO concierge service now, where we connect CPOs before the event with each other. So it's really that, and I believe maybe in 20 years we will have avatars on the stage talking, and there will not be human speakers more on the stage, and the focus will be shaking hands and networking in the expo halls. So it's really that human to human connection, I think, that we really want to focus on building and nurturing that.
I think that makes perfect sense, and that resonates with me too. I mean, I would say that for me, some of my best experiences at DPW are not on stage or at the booth. It's when I'm walking to grab a coffee, then I see somebody I know, and we just quickly sit at at an elevated table, and we just start chatting, and then they give me the real scoop on what's going on.
Yeah.
And those are the most important moments, I think, for me.
I still think we have too much content. Look, I'm always someone who's criticizing. I'm my biggest own critique, if you want, criticizer. And I think we still have too much content right now.
Yeah.
And I think in the future I want to level this out a little bit more for bringing more networking time into the conference. But I mean, these are all exciting things we're working on and improving. Yeah.
It's interesting, and I will say I think it's really an amazing conference, and I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart. I think it's really wonderful what you've done for the procurement tech space as well. As a founder, this is an incredible resource and asset for us to be able to meet other tech companies, find talent, refine our vision, meet customers. Of course, a very important part of it. I listed that one third, actually, so there's actually a lot of value beyond just that. So it's sort of interesting because I feel that you are both an absolute industry insider for procurement and an industry outsider in a way. And what I mean by that is that people often forget that your primary role and responsibility in your profession is launching communities and launching events. It's actually not to be yourself a CPO. So, but I'm curious, as this sort of most insider, most outsider perspective, what are your views on the procurement space by and large? What are the things, the roses and the thorns, the things that you see that you're like, wow, this is really great, or this is improving, this is giving me energy, and then the thorns, the things like, I really wish we could improve on these things, or there's a dichotomy between what people say on the stage, but then what I hear in the back room.
Good question. Yeah, look, I've been never a practitioner myself, but I've been in procurement now for 20 years.
That's true.
So I've been seeing that evolution, right, from a back office function to becoming a more strategic function, and driving value beyond cost savings only, right? And procurement is, maybe it sounds a bit techy, and we've heard this, but it's, I think, really the most exciting time to be in procurement today. And procurement does much more than just cost savings, driving sustainability, diversity, innovation, growth. I mean, I think the role of the CPO has definitely been elevated. It was always my, also through my previous job, one of our missions, right, to bring to level procurement up, or to bring the procurement to the attention of the wider business as a strategic function. So now that's been exciting to see in terms of, what was the other question in terms of?
Places where you feel like procurement can really improve, the roses and the thorns. I'm always interested in both, because there are things that we do great in the world of procurement, and there's some places where I still feel like we could do a lot better. And I'm curious if you have views on, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I'm to be honest, I'm mostly proud of how far procurement has come over the last couple of years, and it's great to see those people coming to the conference as well, more and more people, and the number of practitioners now going out to these events more and more. I mean, we grow our number of practitioners year over year.
Yep.
And those people that are here are the curious ones, right?
Yes.
And I believe
that's true.
The more disruption we have, the more solutions are getting born and bred, and the more you have to go out of your bubble, right? You need to be in the field, you need to know what's going on. I don't think you need to become an expert on AI and being able to code, but you need to be out and understand what's going on, what the trends are. And I think that level of curiosity and having so many people here is amazing. And I remember some of the CPOs who came to my event 2019, they're still here. They come back every year and they bring their friends. So that's exciting, right? The level of engagement, they're really leaning in, and they have to as well, right? There's no way forward. You have to lean into AI. You have to really put it to work. It will be interesting to see how the organizations are looking like, how the operating model of procurement will look like in the future with all these agents coming through. Maybe the future role of a CPO will be more to manage these agents than real human beings, right?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, that is feeling like the trend that we're headed towards. So last questions. I know we only have a few minutes left. Who are your dream keynote speakers? Let's say you had to throw 2 or 3 up there, wish list. If you could get these people for, maybe it's not next year, but maybe it's 3-5 years from now.
Yeah, maybe you can help me, right? Because you're ex-Tesla?
Yeah, ex-Tesla, yeah.
Elon Musk, maybe? I don't know.
Are you sure you still want him?
It's getting a little bit politicized now.
Yeah, exactly.
No, look, I mean, we're close to getting 𝗀𝗃 to speak.
Wow.
And hopefully he will come on board. We have a confirmed really big name speaker already for next year at DPW Amsterdam. I can't mention it.
But who's
I think, look, I mean, if you ask me, there's probably non-procurement people and people I can't get access to. 𝗀𝗃 talking about sustainability and the role of startups in driving sustainability. Who else is? I mean, Sam Altman would be interesting to have on the stage. I like listening to him.
Of course.
And then there's so many. Look, it's always the diversity. I mean, there's some really, academics that are well known that I would like to have. I mean, celebrities, sport athletes, but we'll see how that evolves as well on our stage. Now, how many of these speakers we'll be able to bring in. I mean, do you have an idea? Do you have a suggestion of a speaker that you think we should bring onto the stage?
Well, there's the founder of this company, LightSource, I think does a really nice job. So, but I think this is great. I would say Elon would be amazing, but I have 1.5 million ideas. Of course, whoever's an icon from the different respective fields, whether it's politics or academia or technology, and I'll noodle on it. But
but I think it's about that. It's that this it's not chasing the names now, and that's super important. Now, of course, I can give you great names that I want to have. One role that I think we should bring more onto the stage is the chief product officer.
Chief product officer.
And the people who are building the tech,
great.
because we want to drive more, better user experience, make procurement more intuitive. I think we need to listen more to the people who build those products.
Yeah,
right?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so I think I want to bring that perspective more in. And the other thing is just the C-suite, the CEOs, the people procurement reports into. Because if procurement wants to play a bigger role, become more strategic, we need to bring those stakeholders onto the stage. We need to build that dialogue, right? And yesterday we had Paul Porman, next to two CPOs. And this is a good message, it's a good signal, I believe.
I agree.
And Paul is a CEO who believes in the power of procurement and supply chain. And we need these fans, and we need to bring them more onto the stage.
And bring together, as you're saying, the non-procurement perspective to procurement, which is often the breath of fresh air we need. Matthias, this has been amazing. It has been a real joy to have you on the podcast. And I just want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for putting together such an amazing event this year, and for your continued support and evangelism of the procurement space. So live from DPW Amsterdam 2025, this is Matthias Gutzmann, founder of DPW, and I'm Spencer, your host. So thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Spencer, and good luck today.
Thank you.